Title: I was forced to choose between love and freedom, and I'm still not sure I chose right. I'm not even sure how to begin this without sounding like I'm making it up. I swear on everything I love that this happened, or is still happening, depending how you look at it. I haven't told anyone the whole truth, not even my closest friends. I've said bits and pieces, framed like jokes, like, haha, remember that time I almost joined a cult? But this is the full story. Because lately I keep waking up in the middle of the night, wondering, did I make the right choice? Did I save myself, or did I just run away? Anyway, here goes. It started, like so many mistakes do, with love. Not even real love, at first. Just that stupid, giddy, obsessive beginning part, where your brain leaks dopamine every time they text you. Her name was Lena. I met her in this totally random way. I was crashing on my cousin's couch in Vermont after a bad breakup, trying to get my shit together. One night I tagged along to this tiny bar with live folk music. Lena was there, dancing barefoot on the edge of the crowd, long black hair, ripped cardigan, moon tattoo on her shoulder. Total manic pixie dream girl energy, but it didn't feel fake. She didn't perform it, she just was it. She caught me staring and walked right up to me like she already knew me. "You're sad," she said. I blinked. "Excuse me?" "You've got the eyes of a trapped animal," she said, completely deadpan. "It's okay. I like strays." I should have run right there, but of course I didn't. Of course I laughed and offered to buy her a drink. Fast forward a month, and I was completely wrapped up in her. You know that kind of love where everything else in your life just blurs out? Lena had this gravity to her. I'd never met someone who could talk about astrology, quantum physics, and the Tao Te Ching in the same breath and somehow make it work. We'd stay up until 4 a.m. talking about reincarnation, determinism, if plants have souls. She called me her little crow. I still have no idea why. We started spending every day together. Her apartment was this weirdly cozy old farmhouse 40 minutes outside town, surrounded by trees. No neighbors. No cell service. It had candles everywhere, dried herbs hanging from the ceiling, a massive library of books with titles like The Subtle Body and Sacred Geometry for the Initiate Mind. She never used social media. She didn't believe in phones. She said electricity muddled our frequency. It was weird. But weird in a way that felt cool, maybe even liberating. I was 29, directionless, jobless, low-key depressed. Being with Lena felt like shaking off the gray fog of capitalism and entering some enchanted forest. And then came the invitation. It wasn't some dramatic, join my cult thing. It was subtle. She said there was this community she wanted me to meet. A few hours north, in the woods, off-grid. Not a commune, exactly, more like an intentional living group. Artists, healers, realignment coaches, whatever that meant. They lived in harmony with nature, she said. No phones. No jobs. No clocks. Just humans, being human. The way we were before they domesticated us. It sounded insane, and yet, tempting. I'd just been rejected from my 4th job application that month. My bank account had 2 digits. I was sleeping in a guest room that smelled like cat pee. When Lena said I could come just for a weekend, see how it felt, I said yes. I still remember the drive up there. We took her old Jeep, listening to some band that used goat horns as instruments. Lena brought me this hand-stitched blindfold and said, "Don't take it off until I say." I thought she was joking. She wasn't. "It's part of the journey," she said. So I laughed and played along. Because when someone hot and mysterious is guiding you through your quarter-life crisis, you let them blindfold you in a Jeep, apparently. It took hours. I only knew we left the main roads at some point because the terrain got bumpy. Eventually she whispered, "Okay, you can look." I pulled off the blindfold and, God, I don't even know how to describe it. It was beautiful. Not in an Instagrammable way. More like a painting or a dream. Dozens of hand-built cabins nestled in the woods, some made from cob and earth, others like Viking longhouses. Wind chimes, prayer flags, children running barefoot. People of every age, gender, skin tone, wearing robes or nothing at all. Smiling. Glowing, almost. It looked like paradise. They called it Irene, Greek for peace. The first few days were honestly magical. We stayed in a little cedar hut with no electricity. We ate food that tasted alive. People taught me how to build fires, make fermented tea, carve spoons from wood. Every night there were communal meals, bonfires, singing. Nobody had last names. No one talked about the outside world. No politics, no news. It was like stepping out of time. I told myself I'd just stay a few days. Then a week. Then a month. Lena kept saying, "There's no rush. You're healing. Let it happen." And I was healing, or thought I was. I didn't feel depressed anymore. My body felt stronger. I started to laugh again. I hadn't felt that kind of peace since I was a kid. Then I found out about the oath. It came up in a quiet moment. We were sitting in the bathhouse. Yes, there was a communal wood-fired bathhouse, and I asked one of the older women, her name was Isha, how long she'd been there. She smiled. 21 cycles. Cycles? Seasons, she said. We don't count years here. Oh. So, you've been here like 5 years? She laughed. More like 20. I blinked. You've never left? No need, she said. I took the oath. I thought she was joking. She wasn't. The oath of unburdening, she explained. Once you're ready to let go of the old world, you give it up. Permanently. No contact with the outside world. No visits. No internet, no mail. Not even your name, they gave you a new one. A symbolic rebirth. I laughed it off, but it freaked me out a little. I asked Lena about it later, and she just smiled like it was the most natural thing in the world. Only if you're ready, she said. Some never are. But the ones who do, they're free. That night I couldn't sleep. I started noticing things I hadn't before. Like how the elders spoke in coded ways, almost like rehearsed lines. How no one ever contradicted the group. How disagreements were handled in circles of recalibration that felt a bit too much like public shaming. I asked someone if I could go into town for toothpaste. They looked at me like I'd asked to burn the place down. No need, they said. You'll adjust. Suddenly I started to wonder, had I adjusted, or been conditioned? And Lena, the more I asked questions, the more distant she got. Not angry, just sad. Like I was failing a test she couldn't explain. She stopped sleeping in the hut. She said she needed space to realign her path. She started calling me by a new name, Kale. I didn't even know what it meant. I was losing her. Or she was losing me. Either way, the spell was breaking. The tipping point came on my birthday. Lena came forward and held out a white robe. It's time, she said. You're ready. But in that moment, all I could think was, my mom doesn't know where I am. My friends think I ghosted them. I don't even remember the last time I said my own name out loud. I stood there, robe in my hands, and whispered, I can't. And that's when everything changed. If you haven't read part 1, you'll probably want to start there. I left off at the moment I was handed a white robe and told it was time to take the oath. I stood in the middle of the circle at Irene, my hands trembling, staring at Lena and those 50 serene, expectant faces, and I said the smallest, quietest word. I can't. It's wild how fast a room can change. 1 second it was all warmth and candles and singing. The next? Silence so sharp it felt like a knife. Not angry, just stunned. Like I'd farted at a funeral. Lena blinked, as if she couldn't process it. She looked at me like a kid who just watched their favorite balloon pop. Kale, she whispered. I flinched. That wasn't my name. My name is Dylan, I said, louder than I meant to. I don't want to take the oath. I expected her to cry. Or maybe shout. But she didn't. She just nodded. And walked away. That was the last night Lena spoke to me. No yelling, no drama, just absence. She stopped making eye contact. When I tried to talk to her, she'd slip away. When I sat next to her at meals, she'd get up and move. It hurt more than I want to admit. For weeks, she'd been my whole world. Now she treated me like a ghost. The others followed her lead. At first it was subtle. Less eye contact. Less friendly conversation. Then it escalated. I'd go to the communal food table and find it empty, even though I saw others eating minutes before. I asked where the firewood was kept, and got vague answers like, "You should already know, Kale." I told them again, my name wasn't Kale. But it was like saying it made me invisible. Eventually I got the message. If I wasn't going to commit, I wasn't welcome. I didn't leave immediately. I wish I could say I packed up and marched out with my middle finger in the air, but I didn't. I felt paralyzed. Irene was hours from the nearest town. I had no car, Lena drove, no phone, no way to contact anyone. My cousin probably assumed I was off the grid with my weird forest girlfriend. No one was looking for me. And deep down, I still didn't want to leave. I mean, what was I going back to? A futon and a stack of rejection emails? Irene might have turned cold, but it was still safer than the outside. That was the thing, Irene didn't trap you. It didn't need to. You trapped yourself. But something had shifted in me. That night, after the failed oath ceremony, I sat by the lake alone. I looked at the stars, and realized I hadn't chosen anything in months. I'd just let myself drift. So the next morning, I decided to act. There was one person I hadn't spoken to much, Ben. Ben was an odd case. Early 40s, ex-Marine type. Muscular, buzz-cut, always building stuff. He didn't talk a lot, and when he did, he had this dry, dark humor that made everyone else uncomfortable. Lena once told me he'd seen too much of the world and was still detoxing. I found him sharpening tools outside one of the workshops. "Hey," I said. "I need to get out." He didn't look up. "You're not supposed to say that." "I'm serious. You should be quiet. No one will talk to me. They're freezing me out. Lena won't even look at me. I need to leave. Just help me get to a town. Please." He stared at me for a long second, then said, "Tonight. Meet me by the southern boundary after moonrise. Don't bring anything you didn't make yourself." "What?" "Anything you didn't make," he said again, like I was an idiot. Then he stood and walked away. That night, I packed fast. I had almost nothing that counted as mine. Just the clothes on my back and a wool satchel Lena had given me, which I figured didn't count. I didn't take any of the food jars, they were all communal. I did pocket a tiny flint striker I'd made in one of the workshops. It felt like a good luck charm. At moonrise, I slipped out of the hut and headed south, heart pounding so hard it echoed in my ears. Ben was there, waiting. "Follow me." Quietly, he said. We slipped through the trees in silence for what felt like an hour. The moon made everything glow silver. We passed these eerie wooden statues I hadn't noticed before, tall, humanoid shapes with outstretched hands. Ben called them guardians. I didn't ask. Eventually we hit a slope, and the forest thinned out. I saw a dirt road, half overgrown but wide enough for a truck. "This'll take you down to the river," Ben said. "There's a fishing camp maybe 10 miles south. You'll find someone with a phone." I stared down the road like it was some mythological escape tunnel. Then I turned to him. "Why are you helping me?" He shrugged. You're the first one who said no. Then he handed me something, a slip of paper. It just said, "Don't come back." I walked. And walked. And walked. I've never been so hungry, so cold, so scared. I got lost twice. I slipped on wet leaves and cut my palm open on a rock. I thought about turning back at least 10 times. But eventually, hours later, I saw a flicker of smoke on the horizon, and a little shack with a boat outside. The guy at the camp almost shot me. I guess if you're in the middle of nowhere and a dirty, wide-eyed stranger stumbles out of the forest at dawn, you're within your rights to panic. But once I told him my name, that I needed a phone, that I'd been in some kind of commune, he softened. He let me call my cousin. That was almost a year ago. I wish I could say the world welcomed me back with open arms. But reintegration is harder than anyone tells you. The first time I turned on a phone, I nearly threw up. Notifications made my skin crawl. I couldn't sit in a room with fluorescent lights for more than 10 minutes. I had to relearn how to be normal. Whatever that means. Lena never contacted me. I don't know if she even would, or could. I looked up Irene on Google. Nothing. No website, no location. Like it never existed. Part of me wonders if I hallucinated the whole thing. But I know I didn't. Because sometimes, in the dead of night, I still feel the forest on my skin. And sometimes, I still dream of her. 3 months ago, something strange happened. I was walking home from work. I finally got a decent job at a community bookstore, when I noticed this flyer taped to a telephone pole. It was simple. A white sheet of paper with a hand-drawn spiral in the middle. No text. Just the spiral. I stared at it for a long time, heart racing. Because that spiral? I'd seen it before. Etched into the stone circle at Irene. Right above the place where we took off our shoes. Lena said it symbolized the return to source. I looked around. No one. I took the flyer down. On the back, written in tiny pencil letters, it said, "Kale. You can still choose. The door is always open. L. I haven't told anyone." I folded the flyer and hid it in a copy of Walden on my shelf. I haven't responded. Not that I could. There's no return address, no number. Just that spiral, burned into my brain. So now I'm stuck. I've rebuilt a life. I have friends again. A job. A cat named Egg. I laugh at memes. I go to bar trivia. I've almost convinced myself I'm fine. But every so often, I catch myself staring at that spiral. And wondering. Would going back mean giving up my freedom? Or would staying here mean giving up something deeper, something I'll never get back? I don't know the answer. All I know is that the door is still open. If you've made it through part 1 and part 2, thank you. Writing this out has been like digging through a box of things I buried and told myself I wouldn't look at again. But here we are. I left off with the flyer. The spiral. Lena's handwriting. The message that said, "The door is always open." That was 3 months ago. And I still haven't told anyone I went back. Before I get into what happened, I want to say something first. When people hear stories about cults, or communes, or weird forest groups, they always say things like, "I would never fall for that." Or, "You'd have to be brainwashed to stay." But what no one talks about is the pull. The slow, creeping comfort of belonging. The way it wraps around you, like gravity, not a trap. You don't fall. You settle. And by the time you think about leaving, the idea of going back to the real world feels like death. That's how it gets you. It doesn't chain you. It invites you. After I found the flyer, I tried to ignore it. I buried it in a book, convinced myself it was a coincidence. Maybe someone else liked spirals. Maybe Lena wasn't reaching out. Maybe it was a joke, or a test, or a memory playing tricks on me. But then I saw another one. Taped to the lamp post outside the bookstore where I work. Same spiral. Same handwriting on the back. Kale, we're still here. You're not lost. Just wandering. This time I ripped it down and took it home. I didn't even pretend to be casual about it. 2 days later, another one appeared, slipped into the crack of my car window. They knew where I lived. I started dreaming again. Not nightmares, not exactly. Just vivid scenes. Trees with voices. Lena brushing dirt from my cheek. The sound of drums, distant and low, like thunder beneath the skin. In every dream, I was barefoot. And always, the spiral. Spinning. Calling. I told myself I wasn't going back. That I was stronger now. But then one night I woke up, got dressed, and just started driving. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't leave a note. I told Egg, the cat, I'd be back soon, even though I knew I probably wouldn't. I drove north. I didn't know exactly where I was going, but somehow I did. Like something in me remembered the path. I reached the dirt roads by dawn. I parked the car at a bend and walked into the forest. This time, no one blindfolded me. The walk felt longer than I remembered. The forest seemed thicker, the trees closer together. For a moment I wondered if I was lost. Then I saw it. One of the wooden statues. Arms outstretched. Then another. And then, the arch. Hand-carved wood, wrapped in vines, with the spiral etched at the top. Beyond it, Irene. Exactly the same, and totally different. I stepped through the arch and the first thing I noticed was the silence. No laughter. No singing. Just birds and wind. The cabins were there, but older. More worn. Some looked abandoned. One was collapsed entirely. I walked slowly, trying to see a familiar face. Nothing. Then I saw her. Lena. Sitting on a stump in the center circle, barefoot, hands in her lap. She looked up like she'd been expecting me. And smiled. Kale, she said, standing slowly. Don't call me that, I said, but my voice cracked. She came closer. She looked thinner than I remembered. Pale, tired. But still Lena. Still the woman who taught me how to brew tea from tree bark and told me my soul was older than my bones. I knew you'd come, she said. I didn't, I replied. She reached out and touched my hand. But you did. We sat by the fire pit. No one else came. It was like the whole place was holding its breath. Finally, I asked, what happened? Her smile faded. The shift. What shift? After you left, others did too. Slowly, then all at once. People started questioning. Asking about their families. The silence got too loud. She looked down at her hands. The oath is only sacred if it's chosen freely. When you left, it reminded people they had a choice. She paused. The elders weren't happy. I thought of Isha. Her permanent smile. The way she said, 21 cycles, like it was nothing. They tried to stop us, Lena said. But by then, it was too late. Some scattered. Some went deeper. Some didn't survive the winter. I swallowed. And you? She looked at me. I stayed. She led me through what remained of the settlement. Half the cabins were empty. Some had release runes carved into the doors. I didn't ask what that meant. The gardens were overgrown. The bathhouse had collapsed. And yet, there was still something alive about the place. Some cabins still had candles burning. I saw signs of life. Scraps of food, blankets folded, fresh water drawn. Someone was still here. Who stayed? I asked. She tilted her head. Only those who needed to. And you still need to? She didn't answer. That night, I stayed in our old hut. It was exactly as we'd left it, minus the warmth. The hearth was cold. The herbs were dried up. But I found one thing that made my chest tighten. A little wooden figure. It was a bird. A crow. Carved from black walnut. I'd made it in one of the workshops, not long after I arrived the first time. Lena used to keep it on the windowsill. I turned it over in my hand, and found a message etched on the bottom. Even strays find their way. I sat on the floor and cried. The next morning, Lena made tea. We sat outside the hut. I need to ask you something, I said. She nodded. Why me? Why now? She didn't speak right away. Then. Because I loved you. And I thought maybe you loved me too. I did, I whispered. She smiled sadly. Then why did you leave? Because I didn't want to disappear. Her face didn't change. I continued, it wasn't just about the robe, or the oath, or the name. It was the way choice vanished. The way everyone acted like stepping back was betrayal. Like freedom was a disease. She looked at her cup. Maybe it is. I shook my head. Then I'm still sick. She took me to a clearing I'd never seen before. At the center was a stone well, covered by a wooden lid. Around it were tiny hanging bells that rang with the wind. This is where it started, she said. What did? Irene. The first ones built it here. They said the well marked a threshold. That once you drank from it, you'd never be the same. She looked at me. I never drank. I wasn't ready. Then why stay? She took a long breath. Because sometimes, the pain of staying feels safer than the pain of losing everything again. I reached out and touched her arm. Lena, I said. You can still leave. She closed her eyes. And shook her head. I spent 2 more days at Irene. I saw no one else. I heard whispers in the trees at night, maybe animals, maybe memories. I watched Lena sit by the well each morning, lips moving like a prayer. She never asked me to stay. But I could feel it, in her silence, in the way she lingered near me. On the 3rd morning, I told her I was going. She nodded. And finally looked me in the eye. I'm glad you came back, she said. Even if you're not staying. I opened my mouth to say something, anything, but nothing felt true enough. So instead, I hugged her. One last time. I walked the long road back alone. When I reached my car, there was another flyer tucked under the wiper blade. But this one was different. No spiral. Just a single line, in Lena's handwriting. Some doors are meant to open. Others are meant to close. I don't know if it was goodbye. Or a warning. That was a month ago. I'm home now. Egg is still mad at me. My friends think I took a spontaneous retreat to find myself, and I haven't corrected them. I go to work. I smile at customers. I make tea. I light candles sometimes, for no reason. And every so often, I look at that carved crow on my shelf and wonder. Did I choose freedom? Or did I just abandon the only real love I ever had? Some nights, I still dream of Irene. But not like before. Now, the spiral doesn't spin. It waits. Still and silent. Like it's listening. The end.